Today I wanted to talk about vacation versus lifestyle. So, a lot of people, when they first start out with the full-time travel lifestyle or dream, they think, so my last vacation cost me, I don't know, let's say $5,000 for 1 week, so for 4 weeks, for a month, that's going to be $20,000. But there's a big difference between vacation and lifestyle, as you might gather. So when I'm living in a place for a month, 2 months, 3 months, a year, or however long, it's very different than going on vacation because I'm not staying in an all-inclusive resort, so I'm not paying, $100 a night or however much it is to stay there. I'm generally not eating out every day, although in some places it's actually cheaper to eat out every day. I'm generally cooking at least part-time in the house. And usually our rent is significantly cheaper than at home, than it would have been at home. So the difference, and the other difference is, for us anyway, we are not going on excursions every day. We go do things most days, but it's not like we're going on this $100 fishing trip, or we're going on this, $50 a person bus tour, or, we will go on some things. Like we usually do one big excursion a month, or sometimes every 2 weeks, depending on how long we're going to be in a place. But generally, we try not to do the big touristy excursions if we can avoid it. There's usually ways to do similar excursions for cheaper and more local way of doing it. And so we usually do that. And that works for us. Some people who do world schooling, they want the perpetual vacation feel. And so that's what they do. And that's their choice. And if that's what you want to do, that's your choice too. I'm just here to show you that it doesn't have to be a perpetual vacation, and it doesn't have to cost, $5,000 a week. The other difference between the vacation and the full-time travel lifestyle is generally, for example, let's say you fly to Mexico, you're not going to fly to Mexico and then fly back to the States. So generally you fly in somewhere, and that's your biggest expense usually. So you'll fly in and then stay however long you're staying. Like for us in Mexico, we can stay 6 months, so you'll stay, and then you'll move to, say, Belize or Guatemala or whatever, and you can usually take a bus or a cheap flight to get there. But it's not like vacation. So let's say I'm going on vacation and I'm going to, I don't know, Jamaica or wherever. I'm gonna, part of my vacation amount is the airfare to get from where I live to where I'm going and back, But generally, with world schooling, or for full-time traveling for that matter, you're generally, the biggest expense is airfare, so you're gonna pay that one way, and then in a month or two or however long you're there for, you'll pay it again, but it won't be as much because usually you're not flying as far. And for me, I accommodate that in the budget. So I have a certain amount that I save every month for flights and things like that. And then when we have to fly, I just buy the tickets and we go. So for us, the lifestyle is very different than vacation. We did in 2014. No, it was 13. It was still December. So December of 2013, my ex-husband he owed $98,000 in arrears for child support. And he made a deal with the maintenance enforcement people, and he paid $8,000 and they forgave everything that he owed, and he didn't have to pay anymore. I was not part of that agreement, but anyway, I got this lump sum of $8,000, and I had always told my kids that if their dad ever paid, which I doubted he ever would, we would go on a trip. So this money came, and my daughter said, "Can we go on a trip?" We were already in the Dominican Republic, which was a trip, but she wanted to go on a vacation. So we flew to Florida, and we did a 4-day cruise, and we did like 8 days in Orlando. We never did Disney or any of the parks, but we did a lot of things around that area, and they had a lot of fun. And then we came back, and that trip, like that vacation, was $8,000, or I think it was $6,000. But never in the year that we had lived in the Dominican Republic had I spent $1,000 or $6,000 in 2 weeks. Because it was a vacation, I was willing to pay a little bit more, and we did more attractions and more touristy things. So we did the cruise, we stayed in hotels, we ate out most days. We had a couple of hotels that had microwaves and things like that in it, so we would buy, microwave dinners and things to kind of save money a bit. But for the most part, we stayed in hotels, ate out, took taxis, all the things that we normally wouldn't do. And this was in the US, so it cost a lot more. But so for me, the lifestyle is cheaper and more affordable than the vacation. So a lot of times I ask people, because they'll message me and they'll say, "I really want to travel full time, but I'm afraid I can't afford it." And my first question is, what are your expectations from this? Are you expecting to go somewhere else and just kind of plant yourself in the community and live like everybody else? Or are you expecting a perpetual vacation? You want to swim with dolphins, you want to take bus tours, you want to, take cooking classes with, all of these things, right? So if you want to do all of those things and you want to do them quite regularly, that's going to cost a lot more than, we want to take the bus and go check out the parks in the area. We want to, go hang out at the mall. We want to, all of these things. So I'll give you an example. We were staying in a small city in Mexico, and there was about 3 different water parks all around, and they were all open. And so I told the kids, I told my 17-year-old, do some research, find out which one's the better one, and we'll make a plan and go. And then one day we were on the bus and we saw this it said balneario, which means like swimming. And so I asked this guy and I said, can you swim there? He's like, yeah. I said, is it open to the public? He said, yeah. So we went there one day, not to go swimming. We just went to check it out. We stopped nearby, walked there. I asked how much it was and if we could look around. And the guy said, absolutely. So he took us in, showed us around. It was this really amazing swimming pool. And it was like a whole bunch of pools and a big park. And they had like a restaurant, and they had like a little place where you could buy drinks and snacks and stuff, and a place to eat. And they had slides and all kinds of stuff. And they had this natural mineral pool there. And it was, I think it was 20 pesos to get in for myself and my 17-year-old. And the two kids were like maybe 5 pesos, you know, which was nothing. Like it was maybe a couple of dollars to get in. But then we looked at the water parks, and because they were geared toward tourists, it was like $30 per person to get in. And then you had to buy extra stuff on top. Whereas this little local pool that wasn't for tourists was, I think we paid $3 for all of us to get in. And the little concession stand was super cheap because it's not meant for tourists. So, you know, you could buy a little bag of chips and a little drink for less than $1. So we went there several times. We never actually went to the water park in Tehuacan because none of them had really great reviews. And the one place that had a few reviews, even the locals were saying it's really run down, it's not very great, and, you know. So we just didn't go there. We went to this other place. We went maybe once a week, quite often, and it was amazing. And during the week, nobody's there because everybody's in school, everybody's working. So it was amazing. And then when we went to Cuernavaca, we found this water park and went to check it out. I always like to check things out because one of my kids is autistic. And so I have to check it out to see all kinds of things. I'll do another video on that. But so I went in, I explained, you know, I said, I just want to look at it because my son has some needs. I want to make sure that it's going to be okay for him. Absolutely, come on in. So I went in and it was really nice and it was quiet. And then as I'm leaving, she said, oh, on Mondays, it's half price. I was like, oh, so we would go there on Mondays. And it was, I think it was $3 per person or $4 per person to get in at half price. And the food wasn't super expensive. And they even allowed you to bring in your own food. So if we had gotten like a little cooler from Walmart or something, we could have brought our own food and just brought it with us. We never ever did though. But you'll find that when you're living the lifestyle, you kind of get into your own little routine and you're not on vacation mode. I mean, you might be when you very first get there, but then once you get going, you just it just becomes life. And so like we have days where we just hang out in the house and, you know, watch Netflix or Disney Plus or whatever and don't do anything. And then we have other days where it's like, okay, I got to go find a chip for my phone. I got to go put time on my phone. I got to, you know, we need this, and this for food. We need, you know, and so you go out and you do your errands. And then you have other days where it's like, oh, we should go do something. Let's find a park or let's find a beach or the same as your regular life right now, you know. So I think recognizing that there's a difference between vacation and lifestyle is going to be very beneficial to you. And one way to think of that is, so like before, the city that I grew up in and the city that I pretty much raised my kids in, is has up until recently was the biggest mall in North America, I think. Anyway, and there's a water park in the mall. There's a amusement park in the mall, and people come to visit that mall all the time. Us living in that city very rarely go to that mall because it's overpriced and full of tourists, and just it's always packed. So, and that's one way to think of it. Like, I don't know, if you live in a city and there's a specific tourist attraction, you probably don't go there every weekend. You probably don't go there all the time unless somebody comes to visit and you want to take them there. I mean, you've been there, I would hope. You've been there, but you don't go all the time, and that's kind of how I think of it as vacation versus lifestyle. So for me, I know that there's this, and this in this area that we're going to, but I also know that we're staying there for, let's say, 4 months. And I know that we don't need to do all of those things in the first week. We can do this one this week. We can do this one next month. We can do this one, whenever. And sometimes after you've been there for a while, you'll talk to people and you'll be like, have you done this? And they're like, oh yeah, I did it. It's not very good. Or, don't waste your money, or, and so you kind of get a feel of what's worth doing and what's not. And you might also find cheaper ways of doing it. So recognize that there's a big difference between vacation and lifestyle, and kind of figure out what your expectations are, whether it be perpetual vacation or lifestyle. And either one is okay. Just understand that there's different price tags with each of them. I hope that was helpful.